Welcome to the NBAV podcast.
Welcome back to NBAV, the NBA Avenue podcast. We'll have to start off with the hottest team in the league. We have to start off with the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets have done something that very few teams have ever been able to do. They were, at the 42-game point in the season, they were 8 games under 500. They were 27 and 35. 27 and 35. And they rattled off 10 straight victories, and now they're 37 and 35. They went from 8 games under 500 to 2 games over 500. From 8 games under to 2 games over with 10 straight victories. Unbelievable. And I didn't think they were going to get the victory last night. They played Oklahoma City. The game was in Oklahoma City. It had all of the ingredients for the recipe for disaster to end their 9-game win streak and not get to double digits. But there was a very big factor swinging in the direction of the Houston Rockets, and that's that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't play in the game. So I don't feel like my prediction was incorrect, because granted, I was making that prediction thinking that Gilgeous-Alexander would be in the game, and that is a massive game changer. He's potentially the MVP of the entire league. So to say that the game would have played the same way and Houston would have been able to get an overtime victory if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was on the court, hey, probably not. It is very likely that the game would have swung the other way. But what we got was an incredible game, so I'm very happy for that. Because what you ended up having was, who really cares if the Thunder get another victory? What's the difference? They're the 3rd seed right now. They're not going to drop lower than 3. They're tied for 2. They're a half a game back of 1. So what's really the difference here? Oklahoma City's had a massively successful season. But what we get is a great opportunity for the Rockets, where we haven't got to see the Rockets really go on an extended run. And now, when they were super hot, winning 9 in a row, we still got an amazing game. But we got a more winnable game for the Rockets, which is fine. I'm totally cool if the Rockets can go on and try to take this spot from Golden State. I don't think they will. I think that Golden State knows exactly what they're up against right now, and I think that the Rockets do still have a tough road ahead of them. I don't think they're going to win out the rest of the season, right? If they're 37 and 35, then that means that they played 72 games. That means there's 10 games left. I don't think that they're going to win, in addition to the first 10 that they've already won. I don't think they're going to go 20-0. And I believe that they are etched in history right now with, at the 42-point game in the season, which is where they started. I'm sorry, at the 52-point game in the season. I don't know if I said 42 earlier, but when they were 27 and 30, and 35 at the 52-game mark, I believe that they are the leader behind for the only team to win 10 in a row aside from one other team in the league. And that's Golden State. In 2015-2016, Golden State won 24 consecutive games going down the stretch. Now, I don't know if they won all of those between the point in the season where the Rockets started winning those games. The Rockets started winning them from game 53. So I'm not exactly positive. I believe that the Rockets they won 24 straight games. I mean, Golden State won 24 straight games in that season. This was I believe the year that Golden State set the record and then lost in the finals. But they had won 24 straight games starting from game 43 in the season. So by that logic, from game 53 and on, they still won more than 10 games, right? So we can even ask it to our great chatbot. We can say, how about from games 53 and on? And we can see. So it seems like the Los Angeles Lakers in the 1971-1972 season won 27 straight games during that stretch of the regular season. And that's the longest. And I believe Golden State, and I'm going to ask just to find out, I believe Golden State still won over 10 in a row by 50 games, between games 53 and games 82 as well. So they had a 24-game win streak, and I believe it extended from that 24-game win streak extended from games from the 43rd game and on. So I know this is getting a little bit convoluted, but basically the Rockets are in very, very good company. They look to be only one of 3 teams to win 10 ball games in a row at the point in the season that they started winning them, a very, very late point in the season. And the company that they're with are the 1971-1972 Lakers and the 2015-2016 Warriors. So they're in company of Mount Rushmore of NBA teams. Meaning what they've done is saying that they're an elite team. Now, they're not an elite team. They've only been an elite team for the last 10 games, right? Before the last 10 games, they were a team that was under 500. Not only that, they were 7 games under 500. They were 28 and 35, right? 27 and 35. So they were 8 games under 500, and now they're 2 games over as a result of this amazing feat that they've done. But if you look at the game, Jalen Green, it's just unbelievable. He looks like he's fresh as a daisy. It's like we're more than 3 quarters into the NBA season, and he looks to have all his athleticism. He looks to have all his energy, and he looks like he's playing on opening night. And not many players really look like that. Now, on the flip side, for Oklahoma City, it was still very interesting because over the last 2 games, you've got to see Josh Giddey play incredible basketball. So this is a point that keeps recurring, where we spoke about it with the Minnesota Timberwolves. We spoke about it with Cleveland. We spoke about it on yesterday's episode with the New Orleans Pelicans, where sometimes players go out, and you're sad to see them leave, but you're also getting the opportunity to see what your other players can do when those guys are not on the court. So we've seen what Anthony Edwards can do without Karl Anthony Towns on the court, and the results have been pretty good. And we've seen what Donovan Mitchell's been able to do without Darius Garland, and we've seen what Darius Garland's been able to do without Donovan Mitchell. And we're going to get to see what the New Orleans Pelicans can do without Brandon Ingram. And then you get to evaluate, well, hey, with Brandon Ingram, we were here. Without him, we were there. So maybe Brandon Ingram is the secret to our success, and maybe we need to get rid of other pieces, or maybe other pieces are the secret to our success, and we need to get rid of Brandon Ingram. So you kind of get some intel about your team. So when you get to see what your team plays like without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the lineup, it's like, whoa. We see that Jalen Williams, J-Dub, is just an unbelievable player. Unbelievable player. And we see that Josh Giddey may have some real special talent. He made a shot from sitting down on the floor, which was really incredible. I thought he was going to pass it, and he ended up shooting it. And he was literally sitting on the ground, and he threw the ball in, got the front rim roll, and it went through the hoop. Incredible. He definitely plays with a craftiness that's very, very rare. Extremely rare. Reminds me a little of Manu Ginobili in the craftiness. Now, it's not the same like Manu. He's not nearly as athletic as Manu. But a different type of craftiness is very, very cool to watch. And then sometimes he gets the three-point shot going, and that's kind of the final piece for him. If he's able to do that, then he's going to be a really great talent in the NBA. And then they also have Wiggins on that team. They have Isaiah Joe. They have some really good pieces, and they play well with Gilgeous-Alexander in the lineup and also without him. So you're seeing this is a real unit. And they lost last night, but it was kind of on a wing and a prayer. Houston got some line drive shots from Thompson, the athletic player. I believe Amen is the one on the Rockets, right? They got some shots that I don't know are going to go in every time, but they went in last night. And Jabari Smith caught fire at the end of that fourth quarter, at the end and in that overtime. So yeah, it swung in their direction. Granted, Houston could have put it away. The ball was very close to going in that final second attempt from Jalen Green, and it just narrowly rolled off the rim and out, sending the game to overtime, but then they put the game away. But I think what you ended up getting without Gilgeous-Alexander was kind of best-case scenario, because It made the game more winnable for the Rockets. The Rockets now have double-digit wins. We're seeing real NBA history happening here, and we're seeing a great story. And the question is, will they be able to finish it off? I still don't think they will. My prediction was that Golden State would keep them at bay. No pun intended, the Bay Area. But I believe that they will do that. I believe that Golden State will still hold on to that spot. They're a game up right now, and they will be playing the Rockets at some point. We'll have to check on the schedule to see exactly where. I know that they do have a matchup between the Warriors and the Rockets coming up in these final 10 games or so, and it will be in 4 games. So the Rockets are going to go face the Jazz, a very winnable matchup, but then they'll have 3, 4, 5, oh my gosh, 6 straight tough ones. So the Rockets are going to take their 10-game win streak into Utah. Very winnable game. Utah is like the worst team in the league, or one of, over the last, bottom 3 team in the league over the last 10, 20 games since the All-Star break. Then they're going to have to face red-hot Dallas. Dallas is 9-1 in their last 10, so they're basically just as good as the Rockets during this stretch. And then Houston is going to have to go from Dallas. Houston's going to play Dallas at home in Houston. So they're going to welcome in Dallas. Then they're going to travel to Minnesota. Then the Rockets are going to go back home where they're going to have to face the Warriors. So Jazz, Mavericks, Timberwolves, Warriors, and then after that, they're going to have to play the Heat, the Mavericks again in Dallas, and then they'll have to play Orlando. So very tough schedule. After this Jazz game, where the Rockets have a great opportunity to win their 11th straight, then it's going to heat up. And in another 3 games after this Jazz game, they're going to face the Warriors in a pivotal matchup. So I think that the Warriors are going to do what they have to do. I think the Warriors are going to beat the Rockets when the 2 teams face off head-to-head. And I also think that the Warriors are gonna keep their spot in the 10 seed. So I still see that happening, despite the fact that I thought the Rockets would lose last night and they ended up winning. But hey, they got the benefit of playing a Thunder team that was without their MVP, without their best player. But just incredible stuff from Houston. And frankly, they were a team that was more talented than the way they were playing. And so is Golden State, honestly. And so are the Lakers. There are a lot of teams that haven't played up to the best of their ability. And same thing for the Phoenix Suns, a team who we can discuss right now. The Suns came off of a loss to the San Antonio Spurs. And I told you that, hey, don't sleep on them, because the Suns, although they had the ability to lose to San Antonio, they also have the ability to beat anyone. And I still had them as the 3rd most likely team to come out from the Western Conference and go to the NBA Finals. I have the Nuggets at 1, I have Dallas at 2, and I have Phoenix at 3. So Phoenix last night, they're able to beat Denver in Denver. And it was on the back of Kevin Durant playing just out of his mind. You saw last night why Kevin Durant was able to pass Shaquille O'Neal to, on the all-time scoring list. It's because he's that good. And he also showed it on the defensive end. He got several blocks. It really was a battle between Michael Porter Jr. and Kevin Durant, really going at each other in that game. Not that Michael Porter Jr. was better in the game than Nikola Jokic was. Of course, Jokic was still the best player on the floor for Denver last night, but Porter was constantly defending Durant, and Durant was constantly defending Porter, and Durant definitely got the better of that matchup. But what I like from the Michael Porter side is that he competed the whole game. He was up for the task. He didn't win the matchup. Durant showed he's the better player, but Porter still hit some important baskets, and he wasn't frazzled after he got blocked by Kevin Durant. It didn't get in his head. He was able to play the game that he needed to play. So I like all the signs you're seeing from all sides. And Phoenix is showing, hey, we're going to fight back. And they're going through the gauntlet right now. And this is going to do one of 2 things. It's either going to knock them into a play-in scenario where they may not make it, or it's going to battle test them, and it's going to force them into the playoffs as a well-tuned up, battle-tested, battle-ready team for the playoffs. They're going to emerge from the fire, and they'll either emerge as a weaker, more exhausted unit, or they'll rise like a phoenix. And they'll be ready for the playoffs. And the same thing for Golden State, really. Golden State needs to now put the pedal to the metal. They feel the heat coming from the Rockets right below them, and they are either going to turn it on right here, right now, and move into the playoffs on a high and win the play-in games and make it into a real playoff series and then be ready to go, or they're going to fold under the pressure. So you have several teams in the same exact position. You have the Warriors in a similar position to Phoenix. And I think that both of those teams are going to show you what they're made of. But still, I don't think that Phoenix is going to be able to get to the 6th seed. I think Phoenix is still going to settle in at either 7 or 8 because Dallas has a better team. Dallas is half a game ahead. And Dallas is red hot. They're smoldering. They were 9-1 in their last 10. They've won 5 straight, and I think they just have a better team. I don't think Phoenix, with their tough schedule, is going to be able to pass Dallas, but I think that Phoenix could still be a 7 or 8 seed. Which they will be. They will be a 7 or 8 seed, and Phoenix will make it into a real playoff series. And I think Sacramento is probably the team that's the most likely to not make it into a playoff series at all. That's probably the way things are rolling. Maybe Sacramento can still lose to Phoenix in the first one and then beat the Lakers or Warriors in the second one and make it. But hey, tough road ahead for Sacramento. They also have a very tough schedule for the remainder of the way. And that really covers most of the important games from last night. Obviously hitting the Rockets getting their 10th victory over the Thunder, hitting the Suns bouncing back with a win against the defending champion Denver Nuggets. And we also already discussed, at least in part, the Warriors beating the Magic. And the Warriors went up against the Magic early, but the Magic just pounded and pounded and pounded and came back all the way in the fourth quarter. And they turned it into a close game. They were down like 17 points early in the first quarter, and they just kept fighting back, which is what you want from the young team. And I love this team. This Magic team is fantastic. Now, it wasn't a big Paolo Banchero night. It was a 15-point night. Yeah, he also put up 8 rebounds. He got 5 assists. Fantastic, but not a big night from him. It was actually a big night from the guards. It was a group effort between Jalen Suggs and Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony and Anthony Black. It was all of those guys chipping in during that comeback. Particularly Cole Anthony was the big one, and not Jalen Suggs. Although for many games it had been the other way around. They kind of have this group of guards who they get it done by committee, although during most of their victories, I really would say it was Jalen Suggs who's been the guy. So it's tough when all the other players come back and you don't end up winning the games. Do you say, well, hey, we did better with just Jalen Suggs there? I guess Jalen Suggs is probably the guy they'll want to keep the most. And then you'll have Markelle Fultz and Anthony Black kind of on the outside looking in, and maybe Cole Anthony as the backup there. That's the way it's kind of looking for Orlando. The position that they can certainly improve the most would be the guard positions, the shooting guard and also the point guard. So we'll have to see exactly what they have planned. For now, we still have the rest of this season to worry about. We have playoffs for them to worry about. So they fought back. They did a good job, but even without Draymond Green, the Warriors were able to get a lot of production from their other guys. And we've seen again and again that the Warriors are able to really produce at that center position. They're able to find diamonds in the rough, and they're able to incorporate them into their system, and it's really a great way of going about things. The Warriors certainly have a certain culture established where they have their main scorers, which are typically from the guard and wing positions, and then they're able to consistently produce guys at the center / power forward big man spots. And currently they have 2 of those guys on the roster. They have Looney, who played 15 minutes last night, and they had Trace Jackson Davis, who played 33 minutes last night. So with those players, they're able to win these games. And you look at the team now, and Brandon Pajemski's become a thing. He was hot at the beginning, then he struggled, and now he's hot again. He's playing well again. Not that he's blowing the roof off the building in terms of his numbers and his stats, but he plays well. He is pretty consistently giving you good minutes. And you have Chris Paul, and Chris Paul didn't play well last night. He only scored 3 points. He only got 4 assists in 17 minutes. He had some turnovers. It was pretty bad. He got stripped of the ball and was responsible for points in transition going the other way. A little careless with the ball. His passing wasn't its best. But when you look at the roster, and even without Draymond Green, they really have a very talented roster. It's just that it's a little bit too little too late when they're getting everyone back now. Or is it too late? It looks like it might be too late, but we'll have to see if it really is. They should still be able to hold off the Rockets and stay in the playoff mix. And you saw Draymond Green doing Draymond Green things last night. He got ejected. It really wasn't necessary. He didn't need that to happen. I don't know what he was hoping to accomplish with the first technical or even the second technical. I don't know what his goal was there. And certainly it wasn't a good goal. It wasn't helpful for the team. So you have Draymond Green, and he's already cost this team potentially one championship when he got suspended against Cleveland in the finals. But on the flip side, he's also helped them win 4 championships. So exactly how upset can you be with Draymond Green? It's kind of, you have to just take what you get with him. And yeah, that's all in the past. I understand that. So it's in the past, and you're worried about the present right now as a fan. But at the end of the day, when you take his career in totality, you're going to be looking at a guy who helped you with at least 4 championships, maybe more before the career's over, but at least 4, and that's already a ton of championships. So, hey, he cost you 1, he helped win you 4, and unfortunately, that's just the way you have to go, and you just got to be happy that you have Trace Jackson Davis, and that you have Kevon Looney, and you're trying to even build more guys up. You're trying to get more guys to be able to give you minutes there. But you got a good Andrew Wiggins game last night, so you got to be happy about that. And you got to try to just establish some consistency, stay in the mix, keep your 10 seed, and see if you can get a little bit lucky with how things shake out. Now, in terms of games that are happening today and tonight, there's really very little happening. There's only 2 ball games tonight. A really quiet night in the NBA. So let's spend a little bit more time on last night's games, where you had the Brooklyn Nets beating the Wizards in overtime. Great. Both of you can, the Nets and the Wizards can go run around a little extra in overtime. Doesn't hurt anybody else. They may as well earn their money on those less than respectable franchises. Then the Hornets beat the Cavaliers, and this is actually worth talking about a little bit, because in the last 10 games or so, or really probably the last 15 games, the Cavaliers haven't just been a worse version of themselves. They've been one of the worst teams in the NBA. Look in the last 10 and tell me how many teams have a worse record than the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavaliers are 3-7 in their last 10. In the Eastern Conference, that is the worst stretch of any of the top 10 teams in the entire conference. The only teams that are actually worse than 3-7 in the last 10 are the Raptors, who lost all of their games, all 10. They've actually lost 12 in a row. And the Pistons, who are 2-8, they've actually lost 8 in a row. So only 2 teams in the East are worse than Cleveland over the last 10 games. And in the West, there's only 2 teams as well. Only the Jazz, who have lost 7 in a row and they're 1-9, and the Blazers, who have lost 8 in a row and are, and also the Grizzlies. So the Grizzlies are 2-8 in their last 10. So the Cavaliers are, a top 5, bottom 5, I should say, team in the NBA. They're one of the worst teams in the league in terms of their recent play. So I don't think Cleveland Cavalier fans just have reasons to worry about, hey, are we going to play well in the playoffs? I think they have reasons to worry, like, do we even belong here? It's been a very long time since we've played good basketball. If you take away a couple of buzzer beaters, a couple of close ones at the end, we might be the worst team in the league over the last stretch. So I think if you're a Cavaliers fan, you're looking at the playoffs staring you in the face, and you're going, maybe it would be better if we were a little lower down in the standings and the expectations weren't so high, because it doesn't look like things are going to go very well for us here. We're doing the opposite of where you want to be. Where the New York Knicks just moved in front of you and they're playing their best basketball of the year, you're playing your worst basketball of the year, right as you head into the most important time of the year, and that's the NBA playoffs. So Cavaliers continue to shrink to the worst version of themselves and move down the standings. The Knicks beat the Raptors by 44 points, dropping 145 points in regulation. The Clippers got a narrow victory over the Sixers, but we're not going to focus on that. I mean, what do you want, a cookie? You beat the Sixers by 1? Not enough to earn back anyone's respect right now. And for the Sixers, why are you not playing Ricky Council IV? I mean, send him out there. He's one of the most talented guys you have on your team, and you didn't even play him last night. The Hawks beat the Blazers. Blazers, I believe, lost 8 in a row. The Bulls beat the Pacers, and the Pacers, at this point, I think you just have to hop off the bandwagon. It seemed maybe halfway through the year that this was the year where the Pacers were just going to break out and show you what they can do and be a frisky playoff team. Now it looks like the Pacers are probably going to be more like a non-frisky playoff team. We have too large of a sample size to actually trust them in any meaningful way. So they lose by 26 points to the Bulls last night, who are lower than them in the standings. So Pacers, you're really leaving a lot to be desired. You play well against good teams, and then you shrink against lower opposition. The Timberwolves beat the Pistons. As we already discussed, the Rockets beat the Thunder in Oklahoma City, a great victory, their 10th in a row. Lakers beat the Grizzlies by 12. The Spurs beat the Jazz. And the Suns got the great victory in Denver to keep them in it. So let's take a quick look at the standings. In the East, Celtics and Bucks at 1 and 2. The Knicks move into 3. They've won 3 in a row. They're 8 and 2 in their last 10. They're red hot. Cavaliers drop to 4. The Magic are still in 5. Pacers still in 6, even despite the loss. The Heat in 7. The Sixers in 8. Bulls in 9, Hawks in 10. So nothing really shifting other than the Knicks and the Cavaliers flip-flopped. So the Knicks up to 3, Cavaliers down to 4. And then in the Western Conference, you have the Nuggets, the sole ownership of the top seed in the West. Timberwolves and Thunder tied at 2-3. Clippers at 4, getting a victory last night. The Pelicans at 5, 1 game back. The Mavericks are still at 6. The Suns with the win, they move to 7. And the Kings are in 8. Lakers still in 9. Warriors 2.5 back of the Lakers in 10. And the Rockets on the outside looking in 1 game back of the Warriors at 11, where I think they will remain. So we have 2 games happening tonight. We have a very non-interesting game. We have the Celtics against the Hawks. And I believe if you look back to the previous game, the Boston Celtics just lost to the Chicago Bulls. So now the Celtics are going to try to rebound on this road trip. They first beat Detroit, then they went to Chicago, and now they're going to be in. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the reason why I pulled up the Celtics schedule is because I thought that it was back to back against the Hawks, and then I looked 1 game too far back and I looked at the Bulls. But no, the Celtics just lost to the Hawks. So the Celtics they won a lot of games in a row. The Celtics beat, oh my goodness, just trying to look back and see. The Celtics lost to the Nuggets on March 7th. Then they beat the Suns, the Blazers, the Jazz, the Suns again, the Wizards, the Pistons, the Bucks, the Pistons again, the Bulls. Then they finally lost to the Hawks on this road trip. And now they're going to go back and play the Hawks again, still on the road. So they got to stick around in Atlanta for a few days. They're going to play the Hawks again, and then they're going to go and travel to the New Orleans Pelicans. And then they'll travel to Charlotte. So a big road trip for Boston. We'll see if Boston can bounce back. Honestly, it doesn't matter what Boston does from here till the end of the season. They will have the overall 1 seed. So, yeah, not a very interesting game. Celtics versus Hawks. That's the early one. And then you have the later one. The Bucks will play the Pelicans. The Bucks have been heating up. The Pelicans have been cooling down a drop. They lost Brandon Ingram in their last one. They lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So we'll see. Can the Pelicans play well at home against Milwaukee? It'll be tough. It will be tough. Giannis, Damian Lillard, they've certainly got it going. Granted, Milwaukee lost in double OT to the Lakers in their last one. The Pelicans lost to the Thunder in their last one, so it's a couple of teams coming off of a loss. But the Bucks have the healthier team right now. They've welcomed Middleton back. The Pelicans just lost Ingram, so they have some stuff to figure out. So heavy advantage there to the Bucks. Granted, the game is in New Orleans, but it should be an interesting one nonetheless. It'll be interesting to see what the Pelicans can do without Brandon Ingram. If I had to pick, I would say the Bucks will get the victory. And let's just see what happens. There's no real playoff implications of tonight, so it's kind of an off night. And then we'll be back with a much fuller slate of 12 NBA games going on tomorrow night. So you'll have just the 2 tonight. Take a little chill pill, a little relaxation. Go out with the fam, go out with some friends, have some drinks, enjoy the night. And then tomorrow night, we'll be all back locked in on the NBA. You can follow us at NBAV, that's NBAVE. Follow us on social. Email the show at nbavenue@yahoo.com. We're your source for a great time every time, and until next time, we are out.